It's been a month since Apple released its updated version of the iPhone SE, and that's given me time to reflect on its real place in the market. While my review didn't exactly catch on, it did let me express my opinion that this thing is really just not designed for people who want the latest and greatest, and more for people who had an iPhone 6 or 6S who really wanted to upgrade without changing any kind of form factor. And some of my subscribers might know that I've been using the iPhone 11 pretty much since it came out back in October as my main device. But how do the two compare? And if you're going to buy an SE, is it worth spending the extra money to get an iPhone 11? Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and today we're going to find out. Firstly, we need to delve into pricing. The SE starts at $419 here in the UK, and the 11 is $729. That's a £310 difference, so really not in the same part of the market. However, you can get a used iPhone 11 for around £600 on eBay, which does make the comparison a little bit easier, though it's really not in the same ballpark. I want to touch on some of the similarities between the two, because there are a fair few. They both run exactly the same versions of iOS, and because of their shared SoCs, the A13, it's likely that they'll get the same amount of support and the same software updates to be supported for the same amount of time, which is ace. Other similarities include a Lightning port, wireless charging, aluminium and glass build, Bluetooth 5, Wi-Fi 6, no headphone port, and the same storage configurations of 64, 128 and 256 GB. They also just look like they've been made by the same company, kind of because they have. Design cues like the camera placement and shape, the Apple logo placement, the port alignment, and of course the iconic and arguably stable icon layout. But that's right around where the similarities end with these two, and for good reason. The SE is essentially an iPhone 8, something I'm sure you're all tired of hearing at this point. That means that the 4.7-inch 750p 60Hz IPS display is pretty good, but it's actually also fairly comparable to the 6.1-inch 828p 60Hz IPS display on the 11. Sure, it's not got the curved edges or tall aspect ratio of the 11, but sharpness, contrast, viewing angles and colour are all pretty much the same from what I've found. The same also goes for brightness. Of course, the benefits of a smaller display are better ergonomics, mostly full screen content without a crop, and an uninterrupted viewing experience since there's no notch. However, the benefits of the 11's display include rounded corners if you're into that, and a larger canvas to watch and play with. It's tit for tat really, but I'm personally of the camp who would go for the iPhone 11's bigger display. As for performance, there's pretty much no difference between the two. RAM management is so aggressive in iOS that having the extra 1GB of RAM in the iPhone 11 doesn't really make a huge amount of difference, and gaming is the same anyway. However, one thing I had to point out is that of course the 11 has Face ID and uses gestures, whereas the iPhone SE uses a solid state kind of home button thing with Touch ID. Now, whilst I prefer Touch ID to Face ID, I prefer the gestures to the button, so it kind of leaves me in a bit of a predicament. And if I had to pick one, I'd have to go with the iPhone 11's interface because I prefer the gestures just that much better, and the fact that it has Face ID, it's still pretty good. It's not as good as Touch ID in my opinion, but it's definitely getting there. Battery life is an awkward and controversial topic for the SE because the 11 absolutely wipes the floor with it. The 11's battery comes in at over 3100 mAh versus the 1800 found in the SE, and since the only real differences are screen size and the introduction of Face ID on the 11, it's easy to tell which one's winning in this category. Charging and wireless charging are identical wattages, though because of the smaller battery in the SE, it naturally charges faster. Moving on to colours, I know a really weird topic to talk about in one of these, but actually is quite important since the iPhone 11 is the more colourful iPhone out there. The 11 simply wins it for me. Sure, the colours don't stand out as much as the red on the SE, but there's also more options than the red on the 11. Though saying that, I did buy the white option. Cameras are arguably the most important features found on a smartphone in 2020, and so it's important to have a set of good cameras. Thankfully, both phones have a great set of cameras on both front and back. They're not best in class, apart from perhaps video, but they are pretty impressive given how few lenses are used. For selfies, the 11 wins it for me here with much better portrait options, better edge detection, and higher resolution. Both are producing good selfies, don't get me wrong, and to be fair, I'm not much of a selfie taker myself, but the 11 takes the win here. As for the main rear cameras, they're producing very similar photos, and I'm sure that's due to the software processing involved here. The SE is using the 8's camera hardware, but with updated processing. As for the 11, it's got a slightly wider FOV, but produces similar quality. Again, I'm sure that's due to the processing. But what makes the 11 my daily phone is the ultra wide. And I've talked a lot on this channel about my affinity with wide angle camera lenses, and the 11 made me jump back to iOS from Android. It's so handy to have when you're in a tight space or just when you want to change up the perspective. That said, the main difference between these two phones is really that ultra wide. I don't think you'd be disappointed in the SE, aside from that horrible skin tone problem, but that's something that comes across in the whole of Apple smartphones, not just the SE. You'll be getting that problem with the 11 too. Both shoot Ultra HD 60fps video, which is awesome and is often called the best on the market. My issue really is the skin tones with people. It's something I'll only ever shut up about when I see an improvement. Other than that, fun fact, the reason that iPhones are able to output the best video is because they have the most powerful chips. They're able to do that on the fly HDR and create some almost cinematic-like depth. So, should you go out and spend extra money on the iPhone 11? Well, that's difficult because I don't know your financial situation. I don't know your preferences to smartphones. And yeah, if I'm not in your shoes, I don't know whether to make which choice or whatever. So if it was me, I'd personally pay the extra to go for the 11. Well, for a few reasons. One, if I wanted that ultra wide camera, and two, if I used my phone enough that battery life was going to be an issue with the SE. Because trust me, and I'm sure there are a lot of tech nerds about typing on their keyboards an angry response to this, if you don't use your phone as much, the SE's battery is not a problem. And I know plenty of people like that, so there we are. However, if you have an iPhone 6 or a 6S and you're looking to upgrade, and you really don't care about the bigger screen or the ultra wide camera or the bigger battery, get the SE. It's almost, well, slightly more than half the price of the iPhone 11, and you're still getting the same system on a chip, probably the same software updates, wireless charging, and all the kind of bells and whistles that you'd want from the iPhone 11, just in the SE. And with that, I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. I know lighting's been a bit weird the past couple of videos and everything, it's kind of been difficult. I've got to film essentially everything in a really short bubble. I'm kind of changing, wardrobe change and all that stuff in between shots because next door they are fitting a kitchen, or they have been fitting a kitchen for the past 13 months. And well, it just means that on the weekends, during the days, I can't film because there's just drilling going on next door. In fact, I can barely sit down at my desk because it's just so loud in here. So that's why things are a little bit higgledy-piggledy recently. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Please do like, dislike, comment and subscribe if you're new around here to another video like this one. Also, check out all my social media links, including my Patreon, which will be in the link in the video description, as well as affiliate links to buy the products that I featured in this video. I want to give a massive shout out to my patrons for continually supporting me. Thank you so much. It really does mean the world, so I really do appreciate it. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I'll see you later. Peace.